So in total, how much would these two tax changes raise?
Well, they raised just under 17 million. When you add in the potential revenue from expanding the bottle bill, you're getting up over 20 million.
Would these be temporary?
Not as the bill's proposed.
Chris, is there a split among the Democrats and progressives in the House? Obviously, your leadership has been apparently taking the governor's line here on avoiding any broad-based tax increase. What's your sense of that? How much support you might be able to muster in the House?
It's a good question. There are, I believe you'll see when the bill is published tomorrow, 16 co-sponsors, and a number of us progressives, obviously, and the rest Democrats, including at least one House chair. A number of people, I've been locked in House health care, so my ability to run around and get co-sponsors was severely limited. I would say at least half of the co-sponsors said this doesn't raise enough. So there is a real awareness that we need to be looking to increase revenue. I don't think leadership is there now, as you allude to, but as people are digesting the impact of federal budgets, there's a growing realization that something's got to give. And I'm hopeful that this will help that discussion along. I'm hopeful that this bill can be something advocates and other interests can rally around and get behind. And we see some folks here today. And basically, I'm hoping to stimulate a conversation. And it seems successful that we're doing that. The governor's already addressed this. And actually, Anthony was saying about...
Yeah,
go ahead.
Our understanding is that since, whether it was last night or yesterday, you were probably there, somebody at the press conference, the governor had, and he has sent a message, I don't remember exactly how, whether he wrote a letter to the U.S. Senate asking them to protect the most vulnerable and implying that it might be time to increase taxes on the wealthiest Americans again. We all rallied around Senator Sanders and Leahy and Representative Welch because they were standing up and saying it's time to end these tax cuts because it's bad for workers in the state, across the country, because it's bad for the economy. It's not helping. It's making things get worse. Simply because they failed to do that in Washington does not mean that we should not be able to do better than that here in the state of Vermont.
The governor differentiated between raising taxes federally.
Right. And let me do it. You're right.
You're going to drive those people out of Vermont.
Well, let me say a couple of things. First of all, there is no evidence at all that tax increases drive anyone anywhere. Second of all, I think it actually does a disservice to the well-to-do in Vermont to imply that they're going to skip the state if, in fact, we ask them to chip in their fair share and help take care of their neighbors. I think more highly of the well-to-do in Vermont. I don't think they're going to run out of state rather than contribute to taking care of their neighbors. The other thing is I wonder, I hate to say this, but I don't know whether that implies that Peter Shulman would consider leaving the state of Vermont if we went to effective tax rate. I don't think that's the case. But I think that's a scare tactic. And I think that if we're going to wait for the federal government to take care of these tax cuts, we're going to wait too long. Too many Vermonters are going to suffer. We have talked a lot in Vermont about how we're going to lead the way on health care reform. We're not going to wait for Washington when it comes to health care reform. Well, we should not wait for Washington when it comes to tax reform either.
And let's be clear that the Blue Ribbon Tax Commission looked at exactly this question and found that there was no data to support the idea that wealthy families would leave Vermont. And if anything, the data supports the idea that wealthy families are moving. Vermont is a very special state, and part of what we're trying to address here is preserving what makes our community strong.